Recording is on.
Hey all, welcome to the weekly call. This is where we kind of review everything happening across DXdao and recap kind of product updates as well as other calls that happened during the week, including the governance and the BizDev call. So yeah, we usually start with product updates. So, and Omen is usually at the top. So Geronimo, do you want to jump in there?
Yes, so Omen got updated to the newest version. I think there was like a delayed, not delayed, but we forgot one version to actually, or like there was one version in between which wasn't pushed, which included a lot of like UI improvements, mostly polishments, not features. Version 1.1.7, which is live now on Omen, includes like a new connection type with Ethereum. It's a smart contract wallet provider, which allows the DXdao to provide free gas transactions. So that is like an important initiative to attract users to Omen. The newer version, which we're like working on right now, will include like a lot of new design upgrades, which hopefully will set like a base for like future improvements. So I consider it like there's a very low chance that there will be like a new redesign again for the next coming months. So my hope is that we actually build on top of the new base, and that will be released in a week. Additionally, I'm also working on preparing Omen to include scalar markets. Scalar markets are like specifically useful for price range predictions. So it's like you don't need to ask if the Ether price will be above 300, yes or no, but rather like set a range what price of Ether will be at the end of this year, and then the market can basically push the needle between the scale. So that's like very promising. I finished like the first design iteration, and it seems like on the backend side, there's like almost everything is done. So there's a very high chance that the implementation can begin in the next coming month. In the next coming Monday, sorry. So it's yeah. So it's I'm really looking forward for scalar markets. Any questions?
That's awesome to see that we have that. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, it's awesome to see scalar markets coming up because thus far it's just been the categorical, A or B option markets, and Omen being built on the conditional token framework from Gnosis. Really, that's just the tip of the iceberg for what kind of capabilities the smart contracts actually have. So it's great to see kind of the next set of features coming out. Yeah, if that's it for Omen, we can move to Mesa. I can give a little update. A new version of Mesa also went live. The proposal passed earlier in the week. That includes some extra UI to help people understand what the minimum trade is that will be able to be executed given gas prices and incentivizing the solvers. In the works for the next release is DXdao support. So that's exciting. I think that the Gnosis already has deployed the Gnosis protocol to DXdao so that the smart contracts are ready, and then hopefully in the next release, the UI will actually just support DXdao. You'll be able to switch in MetaMask to DXdao and then do things there. On DXdao, you're wrapping the native currency, which is DXdao, in order, similar to how you have to wrap ETH on Ethereum, you have to wrap XDAI on XDAI so that you can do ERC20 type transactions in the protocol. So that's kind of coming up next. And then if we take a longer term view, Gnosis is also working on, I think it's more in the idea stage right now, but they are talking about improving or changing Gnosis protocol so that it will execute trades within a single block. And this would actually be quite a different user experience. And they're also talking about getting rid of the deposits. So you wouldn't actually need to do the separate deposit transaction. And you could actually potentially do things atomically. So that's kind of exciting. I don't think it would be released until next year, but something to be aware of on our side. And then I think on the IDOs, I'm not up to. Chen, do you want to talk about that, or is anybody kind of up to date on what the latest schedule is?
I know that. Sorry, go ahead. Ken.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not entirely sure about the exact dates, but
Okay, it looks like Illumina is looking to begin their IDO days or a week from now. I know that we have views that is scheduled, I believe, for the 22nd. So they're listed, and they're planning some marketing, which is ongoing right now for that. And we have Cofix, which is also a company also interested in getting voted into the front end.
Nice. And I'm actually just looking at, Chris Powers made a great post on DAO Talk yesterday, kind of recapping the month, which I just linked to here. And it looks like also he mentions API 3 is coming up in October.
I forget
That's,
though. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, they've been on the calls. I noticed that from like their blog post. They had a blog post that kind of announced that, and they said like we're doing on Mesa, but I guess they haven't yet submitted, gotten approved for the token list. Is that correct?
I haven't noticed it if they did.
Okay.
But.
So yeah, I mean that was just from their announcements.
Yeah, but I find that interesting because I feel like we would vote it in. Dave like shows up to these calls, and he's the one who actually brought up API 3. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I felt like they'd kind of like done the introduction part, like what we normally require of people. So I actually was surprised that I didn't see it in the token list.
And there's some potentially deeper partnership with API 3. I think they are potentially an integration into Omen to support oracles there. I don't know if Geronimo wants to talk a little about that, but
yeah, specifically with scalar markets, we can like observe which oracle providers are like actually a good fit for Omen to improve the user experience by letting the market resolve way quicker than Relay.io can.
so yeah, I think so. That's I guess the upcoming IDOs and tech updates. Does anybody have any questions or anything else to mention on Mesa?
I guess on Mesa with the IDOs, I think XDAI represents another opportunity for IDOs to kind of expand a little bit. And I think you could probably just run those concurrently, right? You could run basically the same IDO almost on like main chain and also XDAI. So I don't know if that's something we should try to like encourage people to do or what, but obviously gas would be much lower and it would be able to probably attract a much lower investor amount.
Yeah, I was discussing this already, and I think it is like a nice experiment to have, like maybe 5% of the allocation to have on XDAI and let like people bid with much lower amounts and see how it works.
Ken, is there any thought to even doing a test run on XDAI just to make sure people have the parameters kind of right and that kind of thing with smaller amounts at sale?
a test run for an IDO on DXdao?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to test that you have the right parameters and that it runs correctly, is that an idea, or no, that doesn't really make sense?
Yeah, it's always better to try and check everything. I think like theoretically it works, identical to the mainnet, so you can submit your orders in advance and make sure they look fine. I will try to look into having some kind of a test.
Nice. Any other questions on Mesa?
I think that Mesa, like the front end should have like links, maybe to the Twitter or the Telegram, and maybe the DXdAO's logo on there, and maybe even the homepage, just so users can come and see like, oh, DXdAO runs this. Let me check them out. Or if they have
that would be great. And it shouldn't be too much dev effort to do that. So, I mean, maybe you could sync up with, I know Zet and Geronimo are both very busy with Omen and DXSwap, but maybe sync with them, and when they have time, they could just give some direction and create issues on it's under the DORG repository. I think the DORG Dex React repository could create some issues there.
All right, cool.
Because that makes sense, yeah.
I'm open for it.
Awesome. Okay, so moving to DXSwap, I can try to give kind of a little bit of some update on where technical things are, and then Chris, Augusto, feel free to jump in, or Nico, anybody here, a bunch of people doing things on DXSwap. So there's a few parallel efforts. There is the front end itself, which is, I think, gotten synced up with the latest from Uniswap v2. There is the core smart contracts. They just underwent an audit, and the feedback was getting responded to this week. There's going to be a review of that audit tomorrow. Then another big piece of DXSwap is how does it interact with the DAO itself? And there's a couple of things going on there. So there's a new scheme or plugin, depending on what you call it, which will be used for the DXDAO to interact with DXSwap. The smart contracts for that have undergone an audit. The feedback has almost completely been responded to, and they are close to being finalized. And there's also going to be a need for a front end on Alchemy, which Elon from DAOstack is helping quarterback. And so there's a few things that need to be done there as well. And those are about to get started once the contracts are finalized. And then along the lines of the interaction with the DAO, that's the plugin for the DXDAO, but there's also going to need to be an intermediary contract that we're calling our relayer. And the relayer will be what basically handles adding and removing liquidity. So you'd have a proposal to DXDAO, and that's going to send funds to the relayer, and the relayer will do things that you couldn't necessarily do in a proposal, like check Oracle prices on Uniswap, etc. And so the relayer is still being worked on, and we'll go into audit next, and hopefully that audit could start as early as next week. So basically a lot of things happening here, very close to having the core stuff ready to be deployed. But I recommend going to another Chris Powers post from the last strategy call and kind of seeing his doc in there, because it lays out kind of everything going on. And there's kind of a rolling strategy here where there's not going to be like one, super launch with all the features. We're going to like slowly be adding features over the next month, the next several months, each of which are pretty significant. Starting with the new UI, going to adding liquidity, and then moving into governance, I think are kind of the main things, and also potentially incentives and liquidity mining. So did I miss anything? Anything you guys want to add there, Chris or Augusto?
No, that was pretty good. That kind of covered everything. I mean, a lot of moving pieces, so just seeing how they kind of come together. But I think they're starting to see how each one operates on its kind of own timeline, and we just need to bring them together.
Exactly.
Yep, sounds good.
Awesome. For the product design side, I will probably be done with almost all pages for DXswap. There will be like settings and stuff like that, but all the main pages will probably be done this week by tomorrow, and we'll probably have some version 1 DXswap branding also if we want to start doing some marketing stuff. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Maybe that's something we could talk about too in the DXswap call tomorrow. We could maybe go over those designs if they're ready at that point.
Yep.
That's awesome. Any questions on DXswap? There's a couple of groups. There's Daniel with his Daniel token and Aluna with their upcoming launch. Both have talked about using DXswap to either provide liquidity or even in Daniel's case to do his sale. So I think the details need to be worked out there though with those guys about timing and how these things are going to work. But it's exciting to see already some folks like lining up and talking to the DXdao about using DXswap. All right, cool. If there's no questions there, we'll move on to Rails. Federico has been, he's the one doing most of the dev on Rails, but he usually can't join these calls because he's still at his full-time job, but he has plans to come on full-time with DXdao in a couple weeks, which is awesome. And this was a big week for Rails. It was actually the end of last week. I think it was on Friday that it went live for the first time. So it's really cool to see that on mainnet. Does anybody here have anything to add to that? I don't have much to add other than I know it went live.
No, I think it's just had like really good marketing behind it, like leading up to the launch, and they'll probably hit like 1,000 Twitter followers this month. Like,
that's great.
Considering that I made it like, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks ago, and we only started tweeting on it like a week or two in advance.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yeah, should be good exposure for the DXdao.
And then in the next version of Loopring, the cost to get onto Rails, or get on Rails is the hashtag, will be a lot lower, if I understand that right. I think I forget what the exact numbers are, but I remember being like quite a bit lower to actually get on Rails with the next version of Loopring.
Yeah, I think 250,000 gas, which is significantly lower than what it is. And also you can send, the other cool thing is you can send payments to anyone's wallet address, even if they're not on Rails yet, and then they can get on Rails and claim it. So that's pretty, that opens up basically the entire wallet or address space. We just need probably Vitalik to tweet about it now.
That's pretty cool.
He's been
Just
talking
gotta
about
get
it for months. Did anyone see? Has he mentioned it? Guess not.
No, you just need to send him a conductor hat for him to wear.
I'm gonna post my meme, man.
We need to make an NFT for Vitalik and send it to him on Rails. Maybe we can't do that because it doesn't support NFTs. We need ERC20 for Vitalik. Any questions on Rails?
I just want to say one more thing, that I just really like the name Rails, and I think like kind of the brand it kind of fits very well. And so, with Loopring coming out with another update, and who knows kind of what else, what other opportunities having a front end on that rollup will provide. But like, I really like the kind of brand foundation for that.
Gustav says naming is everything in DXdao. It's true.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like once that's out, like what's left for Rails? How can we? I feel like that can be a great lead-in for people to get them interested in the DXdao, because it's such like an awesome like public good. It solves everybody's problems, and it's just a great like lead magnet. I just think in the future we should probably like try to convert those people to users of our other apps and stuff, and visitors on our website. I mean, we should do that with all apps, but I feel like there's a lot of potential for Rails.
Yeah, for sure. I think for V2, I'll design it together with Federico, and I think we'll think about this main header that all our apps will have. Me and Geronimo are talking about this. Let's see.
Yeah, the cross branding, cross promotion amongst the products is pretty exciting. I also think, but by being on Rails, people are now on Loopring ZK Rollup, so that also opens up, I think, some possibilities. I don't know if anybody has really thought too hard about what this could be, but there has been some. We don't have Matt on the call today, but there has been some discussion in the past about, trading from Omen could be moved to Loopring ZK Rollup to have lower gas fees for specific, if it's a high volume market, that could happen on Loopring. Their new version, I think, supports AMMs. It's on my to-do list to look more deeply into what that actually means, but I think there's some potential there too in the future. I mean, there's a whole technology, it's a whole rollup, right, that is evolving, and Rails is a gateway and basically registering for this. And so I think it does kind of leave the door open for potential new developments in the future.
Yeah, there's been a little talk about some incentive programs too, to like if you get on Rails, Loopring does this for their own platform, but you can get like $5, or you could get like $5 worth of DXD sent to your account if you get on Rails. So we can implement one of those as an experiment for like 50 people or 100 people or something. It can be. We don't want it to be gamed though. It's going to pay for your gas. Maybe pays for your gas to get on Rails in DXD or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I thought it's good, because it's hard to game in the sense where, like, if you were to sell that and take the funds out, like, you would just pay a lot in gas to do that. So yeah, it sounds like a good way of just getting more DXD out to more people and engaging in that. So it's a good idea.
Yeah, I can write a post about that, since it was like in a Keybase chat idea, but I don't think we have anything formal around it. But I could put a structure around it, I think.
Yeah, and there's also, we've been talking about this with DXdao a little bit, just in terms of like using that for more wider reach marketing campaigns. And I think there's also an opportunity with Rails and Loopring there. Maybe not now, but just as things kind of keep developing.
Any other questions with Rails or thoughts on Rails? Okay, we don't always talk governance stuff, but another kind of exciting development this week was deployment of DXdao based on XDAI. So Elon, I think you probably know the most about that, maybe Sky, but maybe Elon, you could recap that, where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to add anything else, but feel free. I'll just say that the deployment went like fairly smooth, I guess. There's still some documentation needed that I need to publish regarding like how to join the DXdao if you haven't mapped your Gnosis safe, and other kind of like small things like how to even add the DXdao custom RPC and stuff like that. So there are a few like guides that need to happen. And yeah, other than that, there is like I'm just on my phone, so I can send a link to the DAO. But there are already a few proposals. The first ones are basically to reduce all of the parameters. So what I did basically is to create a copy of the DXdao onto XDAI, and now the first couple proposals are to reduce the parameters because this is like a faster DAO, and to add the competition scheme, which I'm a big shill of, and I think could add a lot of value to the DXdao. And I saw that there's also a proposal, like a signal proposal, I think it's by Sky, to signal the collaboration between DXdao and Status. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like a lot to talk about and try to hash. How will we transfer like all the decisions that are made on XDAI onto mainnet? Like one kind of direction is to every 3 months kind of like create a recap proposal on mainnet. And yeah, like there are many like kind of like small questions around this, which we'll answer, I guess, in the next couple of weeks, months. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I'll just add, like Elon's gonna, like with everything mapped, everyone here and everyone that has rep, you basically are ready to go. The only thing you need is XDAI, and I think Augusta, and we have a plan to basically very soon airdrop every one of those wallets one XDAI, which will get you thousands of votes. So that's probably the most friction part so people can actually start voting. But it's good to learn how to use the XDAI bridge if you want to move your own DAI over from your wallet into XDAI. But pretty soon everyone will have XDAI and they can easily vote. It's easier and faster and cheaper than doing it on mainnet, so everyone should be able to do it. And if you have any questions, anyone can reach out. And
you can earn gen by staking in any DAO stack DAO, right? Including DXdao, and I kind of avoid talking about that on mainnet because the gas costs are so high. I think it's often like maybe a wash at best. But on XDAI, like you really should be able to make some money off of doing the staking, participating in staking.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Augusto. So that's why you asked me for like the addresses?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I gave you like, so I'll share with you. I'll share with you like the Google Doc of like the reputation mapping, because you want to map it to all the new addresses, right? Like not the actual like DXdao addresses. So like the DXdao addresses.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, we need the mapping of the XDAI addresses. I don't know how many are there.
So it's a bit less, I think. I think it's like around 400, or like, if I'm recalling right, it's like 400 people, like 400 addresses. I can query it and tell you.
Okay,
I'll send you the query as well.
I'm not going to spend $400 on that, but I can.
Listen, even 1 cent though.
Yeah,
even 1 cent will be enough.
No, sorry, Augusto. The money that is being transferred from mainnet to first fund the DAI that will be funding DXdao, we're going to use, a few $100s of that to do the airdrop.
Yeah. I have 100, so I can airdrop 100 between all the rep holders, right?
Yeah.
The same to each other.
Okay.
Listen, even 1 cent per person would last like a long time.
If he wants to give more money,
the other thing that makes sense too is that I think we were talking about the top 100 or something. There is a long tail of like some lower numbers. I don't know, whatever makes sense.
well, I actually think those would be a great way to incentivize those people to vote, because if you have like very little rep, there's been very little reason to vote with gas costs. But if you could do it on XDAI, it might be another way of engaging some of those long lost dormant rep holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, Augusta, just give everyone 10 cents.
Yeah, but by the way, you can use this. I've used this on XDAI at ETH Denver.
So you know, I'm in Argentina, guys. So
Nylon, is multi-sender on XDAI?
Yeah, I used it in ETH Denver.
On XDAI?
Yeah. So it like this works. You can actually distribute.
Yeah.
okay, do it later today.
All right. I'll query it for you, like the.
Gracias, Nylon.
No problem.
Good stuff. And an important note here, it's a clone of the DXdao rep holders, but because of technical blockers with Gnosis safes being mapped to XDAI, like, Nylon made a big effort to try to get people to map their addresses, but if you haven't yet, your Gnosis safe address is not being represented on XDAI, but it could be in the future. People still always have that option to do that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Another technical kind of governance related thing that was discussed this week is DAOstack doing some research into potential scalability solutions. Ezra, do you mind talking a little bit about that here?
Sure. Yeah, so we're thinking seriously about kind of the next step after this stuff. So this XDAI stuff is great. We're really glad we're doing it, but we know that we need something that's sort of a more comprehensive solution at some points, sort of medium to long term. And so we're thinking seriously about a few options there. We shared a few with some of the people on this call. We haven't sort of decided what we think is really the best, and we're going to continue to talk about this and hopefully come to some kind of conclusion in the next week or so. So if you're curious about this, check out the DAOstack channel in Keybase. You can see, I think we have everything linked there. And if it's not, I'm sure it'll get linked again and we'll talk about it. I don't think it makes sense to go through the options now, does it, John?
Probably not. We're already kind of eating up a decent amount of time on the product stuff. But yeah, definitely check that out on Keybase and maybe even provide feedback if you have a chance to dig into it.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody who's curious about this more, but I feel like it'll kind of derail the call a little bit if we try to go into the details now.
Yeah, it's a bit technical, so I think it's best we not do that here. Okay, cool. Anything else on the product side? Geronimo, I think there's also some landing page stuff in the works. Is that right? Geronimo might be away from his computer.
No, that's correct. Our new developer, Milan, took the effort to take my designs for the very great new compensation guidelines and the manifesto. So we have like a proper designed page for the manifesto and the compensation guidelines and a new navigation. And this is currently in testing and polishing mode, and once we feel good about it, we will put it on a test version, on a test ENS domain, and people can play around with it.
Very cool. Awesome. Anything else on the product side before we go and cover the business dev and governance calls? Yes, a blog page. Yeah, there's some talk about making a DXdao controlled IPFS hosted blog. That's right, Violet? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we're thinking more about like if just like getting it added, like don't care about designs or something. Like I think it is way more useful, so we have like a priority to get it in there. It will be the blocks will be like stored locally as like a markdown file, and I think we can collect all important blog posts as soon as possible to make sure that they are added into the blog with the new DXdao landing page updates.
Matt Bartlett has volunteered to help me out in like just putting together every bit of content we have. So you can refer to that when.
Yeah, I will say that Almanit will present to you guys on Monday, like what they have right now. So yeah. And it's basically like a decentralized blogging system. So.
Nice.
About the blog, I also talk with Soren, that I think is here. So we were exploring. We were brainstorming the idea about also creating like a simple DApp that is just going to host static blogs, right? This can be managed by a multi-signature of content manager, on content administrator, content creators, and this can be displayed inside our DXdao website, but it doesn't need to be immutable. Like, for example, we can change the content of the blog by storing it on another IPFS hash that is going to be resolved under one of our subdomains of ENS, for example, blog.dxdao.eth. So the way it works is you will enter on our website, you will go to the blog section, and it will fetch the content from the latest IPFS hash on this subdomain. And this can be managed by the content creator and administrators, and it's actually like it's not hard to develop. So I'm planning to do that this weekend. And after that, give the instructions and the ownership to the content creator and administrators. Then that will need to be added on the website, on the DXdao website, right? And I guess if Violet is the one that is taking care of that, I can talk with him and coordinate the addition of the blog.
Cool. See you later, Medium. All right, should we go to BizDev? Ingemar, do you want to cover anything we haven't talked about yet from the BizDev call? Status probably is the.
Yeah, I think. We had what's her name from Status show up, discuss potential integration of DXDAO's applications on that app. Like Scott, you can probably like summarize the call better than I can, and you have like a lot of wonderful ideas of ways we can collaborate. Would you like to summarize that part?
Yeah, there's a handful of things. It's in the post, and this is also the signaling post that's now on DXdao, which would be it's a test of whether or not we should use that platform as a great way to signal. So everyone should go vote, see if we can get a lot of participation on that. But there's a list of initiatives that we can do. We already have a couple people, Larray and someone else that are interested in helping with some of those initiatives. Like one is a general guide to entities in the space that want to probably be more like Status and DXdao, like stress decentralization, stress privacy, and like what are the tools and practices that they can use to do that. So it's in that case, it's kind of like DXdao leading by example, which is kind of what DXdao has always done. And then there's also integrations with Status. So Status application, which is really cool. And everyone here, I can start a DXdao group on there. If everyone here, like I know we use a lot of Keybase, but it's worth having and trying out other tools as well. And so if everyone has Status, it's pretty cool because it's just like Keybase, but it has a wallet and it's probably more private and it's more blockchain centric. We could start a DXdao group on there and experiment. And also you're able to, using their browser from your phone, you're able to use DXdao products through like ENS resolving, so that you're not dependent on ETH.link centralized service. So it's another way for further decentralization among the products that DXdao is building. And then just overall, like joining, like doing communication between each other's communities and growing awareness of both DXdao and Status among the overall community. I think doing it in a partnership, like a blog post and some other assets, will be good overall for both entities. And it's also an experiment on whether or not DXdao can have a more official type of partnership, which I don't think DXdao has ever had. So it's all those things combined into one first try at a big experiment. That's all.
Good stuff.
Hey, hey guys, I just wanted to kind of second that. I've been playing with Status kind of for the past number of days since Simona gave her presentation, and it's a pretty cool app. I would definitely encourage people to go check it out and play around with it.
I haven't tried it, but I think that could be a good place to use Rails. I'll try it out, but if you basically have Rails on Status browser, that basically becomes crypto Venmo, and everyone in the world can use it like they use Venmo.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool. So that's the thing. Like Rails is great, but like we're not sending money after we eat dinner to our friends, like settling up the bill on our computer when we get home. If we can do it all, I mean, obviously you can just send them DAI or ETH on mainnet, but it costs too much and it's too slow. But if we all had Rails through Status, which that's crypto Venmo, that could become a mainstream product.
Exactly, and then one other thing about it too is that DXdao is going to have a whole suite, or already does have a whole suite of products, and if there was some kind of partnership between Status and DXdao to kind of feature those apps, that's like a sure shot way to instantly go mobile. Then you don't have to make individual iPhone apps for Rails or Omen or what have you. So it's just an instant straight shot to mobile. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like a lot of really great product cooperation opportunities. But I also want to say, I like what kind of Sky said about like a co-branding effort, whether it's producing a report or something like that. I think that's kind of a secondary thing that we can think about with DXdao, is like how does that kind of brand proliferate in the industry, and maybe Status and DXdao can kind of work on that together, separate from the product cooperation.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if anyone has any other entities in the space that have like similar ethos and goals and things, and Rotkey was one example with Chris and Chen and I had a call with them, like really private, like stressing privacy, stressing true ownership of the product yourself, you self-host it, all that kind of stuff. They're still new and young, but it could get better and better. So if anyone has lists or ideas around those types of partnerships and collaborations, bring them into the DXBiz channel and propose them. Or, if people think it's a good idea, then you can reach out and start forming that relationship as well. So we just need more of that happening, I think.
So yeah, I have a thread on Web3 API. They came to a BizDev call, and it's basically trying to help app developers develop on Web3, and just allows people to interact with Web3 in multiple programming languages. It's also a decentralized product, and lets people aggregate protocols into a DApp without bloating the size of it. And I think that could be really good for DXdAO's, I think, current and potentially future products. So I'm gonna go ahead in a couple days and make a proposal of just like saying that it's like an MOU, saying that we'll explore it with them, if that's cool. And that can be another like partnership agreement.
Cool.
By the way, I had its status installed, but I just checked it, and you can interact with Alchemy through the Status mobile app browser. There is like a bug happening right now, but yeah, Alchemy basically works on mobile, and this could be interesting to interact with the DAO from mobile, like voting and that type of stuff. You would have to load. Yeah, what?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish. Sorry, I was just too excited.
You're too excited. So like you would have to connect to the wallet or the public address that you have reputation with. But yeah, that's still pretty cool.
Yeah, and so the other really cool thing is you can easily switch to XDAI network on Status, and so you can use the new version DXdao on there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I should note. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Like it's just in relation in the context of partnerships. Like this is like I'm really pushing the Almonid guys to to basically present and create like a long-term collaboration with the DXdao. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say on Status right now, there's a bug where I guess it's not like if you send SNT. If you send SNT to the wallet, it's like not showing the amount or something like that. But yeah, just be aware of that if something goes wrong.
Does anyone here have big bags of SNT token? Anyone?
Wait, was that Status?
Yeah.
I thought that was like Serum or Solana's was like SNT, and I was like, what?
Does anyone have any SNT token? Because so there's a DApp store which we're in kind of, but we're going to be, all of our products are going to be in there, and in that DApp store, which is like DA.APS, I think it's DApps.com. That's the website. I'll send it out. It's in the proposal. But in that store, the way you get your products to the top of the curated, it's basically a token curated list. You have to stake SNT. So once all of our products are in there, if people can just buy, it's pretty cheap token. So if you can just buy some SNT and stake to that product, we can push DXdAO's products to the top of all the lists. Not the top, but in the top 5, basically. Which would be pretty cool.
How much traffic they get to this app store?
How much what?
Traffic, like how many users they have?
Oh, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. No.
Trillions of people.
In the future, millions, but like, that doesn't. How many people do we have in Ethereum?
Yeah. No, I like the idea. Actually, I thought that the DXdAO should have its own DApp store kind of thing, like a while back, that didn't really happen.
Yeah, and Status is probably the most decentralized, or can provide the most decentralized app store, right?
Oh, I just learned this stat. Does anyone know, and I don't know if this is 100% true, does anyone know how many Solidity developers have committed code on GitHub? Like in the last year?
Is that a number you can look up on GitHub? That would be interesting.
How many different GitHub accounts? I guess that would be the answer. The question.
How many different GitHub accounts? Yeah.
I know Joe Lubin has been saying for years the goal is always 1 million Ethereum.
1 million devs.
Yeah, but do you know what the answer is?
No, that's the only that I would start with. I'd say we're probably at 350,000. Would be my guess.
No. Solidity people, coders that have committed Solidity code on GitHub.
Tell us.
Less than 500.
Oh shit.
I don't believe that. I think that's low.
That's a stat. If someone can figure out how to look it up on GitHub, you can confirm it. No.
Well, you got a link to something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that sounds questionable to me, Sky. But also, we're running out of time, so I'd like to move to the governance call.
Cool. Yes, I had a call yesterday. You can see the recording there. Kind of checked in on a couple ongoing initiatives, the gas refunds, and also the community rep boost, and kind of talked about both of those, both of which everyone's kind of happy with and looking to tweak. A lot of XDAI excitement that we talked about here, and then we also talked about trying to maybe form working groups or things that could make relating to executing on the 5-point plan. So I'm looking to post something on that in the next day or so.
Awesome. Anything else we should cover before we close out here? Sky, you know what you should look for actually is I don't know where to find it online, but I've seen charts of it before, is the number of Open Zeppelin downloads or clones, and it's way more than 500. I can tell you that.
Were you to do Solidity?
Well, because the number, if you're using Open Zeppelin, the library is pure Solidity, right? So it's possible you're just doing something very light, but that would give you, I think, a proxy as to how many people are doing.
Does that mean they're committing code to GitHub though, or do they just playing around their computer?
I mean, yeah, I would take that into account. Like, you could just be cloning it and messing around, but I mean, I don't think your average person is cloning the Open Zeppelin repo. Yeah. 3.6 forks.
That's forks. That's not the same thing as clones. But
3.6 what?
3.6K, sorry.
Yeah.
Forks.
Yeah.
But there's probably way more people that have just.
There's way more downloads. Yeah. It's
I mean,
it's like thousands. Yeah.
I don't know how to find downloads.
Well, we should find that.
Yeah.
And debunk Sky's crazy
stuff. I always thought, Sky, you're hyping things. This is not a hype.
All right, so tune in next week to find out the real the counter arguments to Sky's crazy numbers. All right, anything else before we should close out here?